A Bay of Blood? Blood and Black Glaze? Black Sabbath? Italian director Mario Bava's movies were metal as all hell, starting with his first solo feature, Black Sunday. I mean, look at this. If that's not metal, I don't know what is. So today, let's take a look at the legendary classic that is Black Sunday. Hey, I'm Gory B-Movie, and I'm a horror addict, and today I'm going to give you all the gory details on Black Sunday. Also known as Revenge of the Vampires, La Maschera del Demonio, and The Mask of Satan. With all those titles, those of you unfamiliar with the film might be a little confused as to what it's about, and with good reason. Black Sunday covers all the bases: witches, vampires, gothic mansions, and a whole lot more. The film was released in Italy in 1960 and internationally in 1961. In the US, it was shown as a double feature with Roger Corman's The Little Shop of Horrors, and it was a huge critical and commercial success. However, due to the epic gore in this picture, tame by today's standards but impressive for its time, it was banned in the UK until 1968, and even then, it was cut to shit. The full, uncut version wasn't released in Britain until 1992. To this day, Black Sunday is revered as a monumental classic, not just of horror, but of cinema, and its influence can be seen across a number of films. Tim Burton said that it was one of the films that made me understand the power of cinema in the sense of images as part of the story. Richard Donner modeled the graveyard scene in The Omen after the scene in Black Sunday when Katya arrives with her hounds. And Francis Ford Coppola recreated a number of scenes in his adaptation of Dracula as an homage to the film. Like much of Bava's work, Black Sunday has been credited with kickstarting the giallo film and the modern slasher. It also made a name of Bava and launched the career of Barbara Steele, who plays both Azza and Katya in the film. After this, she went on to star in Roger Corman's The Pit and the Pendulum, Joe Dante's Piranha, and David Cronenberg's Shivers. Now for me, this was a first watch, so I'm coming at this with fresh eyes and perhaps a new perspective. I'll get into that further, but first a rundown of the plot, followed by the good, the bad, and the gory. So Mario Bava was a big fan of Nikolai Gogol's short story Vi, which Black Sunday is based on. Well, sorta. Honestly, the movie has very little in common with the story, with the exception of the Russian setting and the witch that comes back from the dead. But I mention this because Bava said that he used to read this story to his children and they would get so scared that they would have to sleep in his bed with him afterwards, which is pretty stinking cute. Also, Bava had worked on a number of shorts and had co-directed a few films, but when he had the opportunity to make a film of his own, he knew that this was the movie he wanted to make. But let's get to that plot already. The film opens in 1630 Moldavia, where Azza and her lover Igor are sentenced to death for practicing witchcraft by these creepy robe dudes led by her asshat brother. You'd think that because they're family, her brother would show some mercy, but no. He's one sadistic mofo. First, he has his goons burn her with the official brand of Satan. She's probably going to be paying Satan royalties on that puppy for the rest of her life. It's a good thing she doesn't have much longer to live. That could get expensive. Also, what's up with this brand? It looks like a number 5 or an S. I figured Satan would have something more elaborate, like an inverted pentacle. If you ask me, he's due for an upgrade. This thing looks more like the brand of Superman than the brand of Satan. Then her brother goes into this long, self-righteous speech about how he's the Grand Inquisitor and she's to be sentenced to death. Just look at this guy with his hipster beard and his dumb robe saying words like repudiate. There's no doubt in my mind that this Wankburger was the inspiration for Vigo the Carpathian from Ghostbusters 2. I mean, just listen to him.
I, the second-born son of Prince Vida,
the scourge of Carpathia, the sorrow of Moldavia, command you.
Oh! Command me, Lord!
Then he says that she has to wear the mask of Satan and be burned at the stake. I can say one thing for him, at least he's thorough. Now, the mask of Satan is the most metal thing there is. It has these sharp spikes on the inside of it where it's placed on the witch's face. As the executioner brings the mask to Azza, she curses her brother.
It's I who repudiate you, and in the name of Satan I place a curse upon you.
Her curse is that she will live on through his bloodline and be restored to torment and destroy throughout the nights of time. This, my friends, is why you never want to piss off a witch. Just saying. Then the executioner hammers the mask into Azza's face, and we get an understanding of why this film was considered to be so gruesome. I mean, damn, that's hardcore even by today's standards. That's like Saw levels of fucked up. And when you remember that this film was made in 1960, holy fuck balls! Audiences must have been shitting their britches over for this. And check out that mask. It reminds me of the statue of Pazuzu from the movie The Exorcist. I know Ozza is supposed to be the villain here, but I gotta say, I'm rooting for her. She went out like a true metalhead. Literally. When we come back to Ozza, we see that it's raining, so already her brother's plan is foiled since there's no way she's going to burn to ash in that downpour. So instead, they bury Igor in a cemetery for murderers and take Ozza's body to the tomb of her ancestors. When you think about it, that would also be the tomb of her brother's ancestors, so it seems weird that he would keep her there. Why not just bury her with Igor, right? I mean, didn't he listen to that curse? You'd think he'd want her as far away from his family as possible. But then I guess there wouldn't be a movie, so let's move on. 2 centuries later, Dr. Kruvayan and Gorobek. Yeah, I'm not gonna try and say those names for this whole review. Damn it, I'm a horror addict, not a linguist. Let's just call them Dr. T and Andre. Anyhow, they're traveling by coach to a medical conference when they do something that you should never do in a horror movie. Take a shortcut, particularly one through a haunted forest. The coachman is afraid of ghosts, so he decides to take the edge off with some vodka. That would be horror movie mistake number 2. Drinking and driving always results in badness in horror movies. So it should be no surprise to any of you that not 2 seconds later, the coachman drives into some branches that he says were out to get him.
That branch reached out and tried to choke me.
And breaks one of the wheels off the coach. Now I can't say for certain, but I'm willing to bet that a broken carriage was the 1800s version of the car not starting up. The coachman says he can repair the wheel, but it's gonna take a while, so the 2 doctors decide to use this time to investigate a strange noise. Yeah, these guys are hopeless. The noise leads them to the grounds of a crypt where they find that it's just the wind blowing through the pipes of a broken down organ. I guess sometimes it really is just the wind. Who knew? But then the door to the crypt gets their attention when it closes on its own, so they head towards it. Clearly, these guys did not get their doctorates in common sense. Inside, they find Ozza's tomb. It has a window on it so they can see Ozza's face, still wearing the mask of Satan.
They feared that the witch might rise again and maintained that a cross visible to her through the glass would keep her nailed down forever.
Then Andre goes to help repair the coach, leaving Dr. T, who says he wants to take a look around. But he doesn't have a look around because a giant frickin' bat the size of a flippin' person flies out and starts flapping around. Well, Dr. T is not gonna put up with that shit, so he tries smacking it with his cane. You gotta love this guy with his cane. Fuck this organ, fuck these spider webs, fuck this bat. He's like fucking Bruce Wayne with this thing.
Now you wanna get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
And when that doesn't work, he shoots it. And then he just starts beating the bat to paste and smashing Oz's tomb along with it. Did I put in the right movie? I feel like I'm watching The Great Outdoors.
Let's get out of here, Professor. Wait.
Well, this Cracker Jack box is open. Might as well reach in and see what prizes I can find. Wait, what? Yeah. Dr. T removes the mask of Satan from Ozza's face. This is the kind of boneheaded move I would expect from a teenager in a slasher movie, not a frickin' doctor. And there's Ozza, all corpseified with scorpions crawling all over her face. Dr. T notes that she appears well preserved, and I gotta agree. What's her secret, you ask?
Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's labeling.
Yeah, no, it's blood. Dr. T cuts himself and drips some of his blood on Ozza's face, and her body begins to restore itself. Instead of wasting money on expensive creams, maybe I should try blood. It works for Ozza, and it did wonders for Uncle Frank in Hellraiser. Alright, here it goes. Am I pretty yet? When they return outside, Dr. T and Andre meet Katya, who looks remarkably like Ozza. Andre is immediately smitten with her, struck by her sadness, so he says. If you ask me, she looks more bored than sad. Andre really needs a good wingman to clue him in. Not that he'd listen. The power of boners is strong with this one. So the coach is fixed, and Dr. T and Andre head out to stay at a local inn.
An excellent idea. Another little drink or two.
Meanwhile, Katya returns home and we meet her brother Constantine and her father Prince Vida. Bizarre occurrences like strange voices, a moving painting, and wolves outside spook the prince, so he sends Katya and Constantine to bed. The prince tells his servant that it's St. George's Day, and that on this day, 100 years after Ozza was killed, her tomb was split open by an earthquake and she returned from the dead and killed her descendant and living image, Princess Marcia.
Marcia, Marcia, Marcia.
Portia!
He notes that Katya is also the living image of the witch, and he fears that Azza will return and exact the same vengeance on his daughter. Meanwhile, back at the tomb, Azza has restored herself enough that she's able to summon her lover, Igor Yavutic, back from the dead, and he crawls out of his grave all scabby and zombie-like. Igor goes to Prince Vida and scares the shit out of him, leaving him in shock. Katya and Constantine then find their father and send for the two doctors to help. The doctors arrive, but neither them nor the Vida family are prepared for the return of Azza and Igor. Together, these two villains aim to enact their vengeance and transfer Azza's soul into Katya's body. Black Sunday wastes no time getting to the good stuff. We see Azza and Igor killed with the Mask of Satan before the opening credits roll. And that opening is killer. I particularly love the shot that starts with Azza's point of view and then goes through the mask to the executioners. It is truly one of the most chilling and effective shots I have ever seen. But what really makes this film stand out is the dense atmosphere. The chilling wind, the dense fog, the fierce lightning strikes. It helps that so much of this film exists without dialogue. Bava takes his time and allows our sense of dread to build to a crescendo. We see this particularly with the camera work. There are many long pulls, pushes, and pans of the camera that make us feel as though we're being watched and that at any moment something terrible will jump out at us. Then, when the camera does move quickly, it stands out and produces a very effective scare. One of my favorite sequences is a shot of Igor driving the carriage through the fog in slow motion. There's no sound. We don't hear the carriage or the horses, just this dark, apprehensive music. And what would a gothic horror film be without incredible set design? The sets in the film were actually designed in monochrome, absent of color, to add to the dark mood. Some of these sets were even reused in Bava's later film, Kill Baby Kill. The castle where so much of the story takes place is like something out of Scooby-Doo, with all of its corridors covered in spider webs and the hidden doors, traps, and passageways. It's the kind of place I'd love to take the family for the weekend. Then there's the story, written by two Italian dudes whose names I can't pronounce. I was very interested in the mythology of the film, like the tomb with the window ensuring that the shadow of the cross would fall upon Azza and keep her dormant, and the Mask of Satan used to force a condemned witch to wear their true face for all of time, and for killing. I'm pretty sure that's important too. And this is just a little thing, but well done on being one of the few horror films I've seen that gets the grammar right and says farther and not further when talking about distance.
How much farther is it to the crossroads at Mirgorod?
These Italian guys write English better than most American screenwriters. One of my favorite elements of the story is the painting that changes over the course of the film. When we first see it, Azza is standing next to a slain wolf, and Katya comments that the wolf used to be alive in the painting. And by the end of the film, the painting is of a fully nude Azza holding an apple and standing next to an hourglass. This might have been inspired by a picture of Dorian Gray, but since this film, the changing painting has become a common film trope, and one that we've seen used in such films as Ghostbusters 2, Young Frankenstein, Harry Potter, Cemetery Man, and countless others. Black Sunday also pays homage to classic vampire movies and literature, in particular Todd Browning's 1931 adaptation of Dracula. For instance, this familiar line that Azza says throughout the movie.
Look into my eyes.
Not to mention the cobwebbed covered tomb, the ghoulish henchman, and the way Steele puts emphasis on certain words, making her sound very much like Bela Lugosi.
Kiss me. My lips will transform you.
In fact, originally Steele was fitted for fangs for her part, but Bava didn't like the look of them, so the idea got nixed. Let's talk about the dubbing.
The features of his face are all changed. They are not human. It looks like the face of Satan.
It's bad, as dubbing often is. Personally, I'm not a fan of dubbed films, so I looked for a subtitled version, but there isn't one. Not that there would need to be, the movie was filmed in English, but it was common for Italian films in the 1960s to do all of their audio in post-production. For this reason, many Italian films of that time cast their actors based on appearance and not acting ability. Which brings us to Barbara Steele, who Bava cast after seeing photos of her. Now I gotta say, when she's good, she's awesome, like in that opening sequence. But when she's bad, she is as stiff as a corpse. She's so bizarre and wooden in her first scene as Katya that at first I thought she was actually Azza and that she was behaving strangely because she had been newly restored.
Yes. I trust you will spend a good night at Mirgorod.
But no, Steele just doesn't emote. She looks bored and uncomfortable for most of the film.
That's just the way her face looks, you know? That's just her face.
Especially in her scenes with Andre. I get it. The guy's a doof.
Calm yourself, princess.
Katya and Andre have zero chemistry, and their whole relationship seems forced and out of place. It doesn't help that Andre is a fairly forgettable character, and Katya behaves like a moody teenager.
What is my life? Sadness and grief.
My whole life is a dark room. One big, dark room.
The villains, Azza and Igor, are the most interesting, but even they could have used more development. Azza was great in the opening, but all we really know about her is that she's evil for the sake of being evil. She has no layers. I guess she loves Igor. Maybe they could have explored that a bit, or explained what happened to get her executed at the start of the film. It would have also been cool to see her get her hands dirty a little bit more and up that body count. By the end of the movie, she's like a satanic Bond villain. All exposition, no bite. I gotta say, when it comes to the gore in Black Sunday, I'm impressed. We have 7 kills in the movie, and that's not counting the dead bat and the 2 dead dogs. You get hangings, people falling down trap doors, eye gouging, rotting corpses, burning corpses, scabby undead corpses, not to mention all the paranormal scares like a hand reaching out from behind the curtain, and possession. Moving on to nudity. Now apparently Steele didn't enjoy working with Bava. She didn't like her wig, her costumes, all the cleavage she had to show, and one time she even refused to come to set because she was convinced that Bava was going to force her to appear nude in the film. Now since then, she's chalked up their differences to her inexperience at the time and her inability to understand Italian, but with all the controversy, you would expect more nudity in the film than there is, which isn't much. But here is what you do get. 1 nude portrait complete with portrait boobs, skeleton boobs, and loads of cleavage. Not to mention bodice ripping, awkward boob grazing, and heaving bosoms. And 0 male nudity. Not even a shirtless scene. Seriously? What the fuck, Bava? So, should you see it? Black Sunday is legendary, so if you're a fan of horror or even classic cinema, I'm gonna recommend that you see it. Watch it alone, preferably on a dark and stormy night. This is a movie that you need to experience, not one that you can watch with a group of friends or while you're doing other things. Similar to other Italian horror films like Suspiria, this is more about mood and atmosphere than storytelling. You need to let it sink in. But the real question is, which version should you see? As you might have guessed by all the titles, there are quite a few to choose from. But for this recommendation, I'm going to focus on the ones currently available in the US and the UK. The most common version is Black Sunday, distributed by AIP, who re-recorded the dubbing and added a new score by Les Baxter. Then there's The Mask of Satan. It's the most complete version of the film available, and it features the original English dubbing and Italian score. UK fans are fortunate to have an era release of the movie that has both versions of the film and loads of special features. For those of us in the US, both versions are available, but they're sold separately. This one is AIP's release of Black Sunday. It looks great, but it has 0 special features, not even subtitles. Then there's this one from the Mario Bava collection that has the more complete Mask of Satan version and includes a commentary from film historian Tim Lucas. For us US fans, this is the one that I would recommend. But I want to hear from you. Are you a fan of classic horror? What are your thoughts on Black Sunday? Let me know in the comments below. And I want to give a huge shout out to our patron William Ellman for requesting this review. Thank you, William, and the rest of the horror family for supporting our channel and helping to make these videos happen. We love you guys. And if you would like to see more in-depth reviews like this one, be sure to hack that thumbs up button and let me know. Thanks for watching. Cut!